Thanks for having me, by the way, Evan.
You bet. It's my pleasure. My pleasure. Today we have a special guest. Her name is Sherianna. She is a passionate educator, writer, and speaker. She is the author of 8 books. Yes, that's 8. She has published over 75 articles. She's been featured in Psychology Today, Mantra Yoga and Health, Mind, Body, Green, and Yoga Journal Online. Her book, The 4 Gifts of Anxiety, were endorsed by the National Association of Mental Health. Sherianna has a master's in education as well as a certificate of advanced graduate study of School of Psychology from the University of Massachusetts in Boston. She presently teaches at PESI, Behavioral and Mental Health Education, for professional credit and is an adjunct psychology professor at Cape Cod Community College. She is a professional blogger for spirituality and health, where you can also find her for her emotional detox courses. Thank you so much for coming on to the show today. How are you, Sherianna?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. Excited to be.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I cut you off.
I'm just excited to be a part of your show.
Thank you. Well, you have quite an amazing list of accomplishments.
Oh, thanks. Well, I think I might be a little bit older than you.
That makes me feel special. Thank you for thinking I look young. Just out of curiosity, how old do I look?
You look young. I mean, I have no idea. Don't even make me go there. I don't know. You look young to me.
You won't hurt my feelings. Just take a guess. I want to enjoy this moment.
I don't know. I mean, 30s,
I'm 31.
So. Okay. Yeah. I mean, so anyway, I've had a little bit more time than you to develop this.
That's funny. Well, you don't look a day over 35, so.
Aw, thank you.
So I got a question for you. Just kind of going into the process of your work, you wrote this book called Emotional Detox. And in full disclosure, when I was looking at books online, I came across this and just saw that your book intrigued me. So I stopped. I haven't yet bought it, but I wanted to talk to you first about it because I just wanted to know, and I'm sure our audience does, what is an emotional detox and why is it important?
Yeah, so I'll frame it this way for you. So most of us, when we think of detox, we're thinking of detoxing like the impurities, right, in our bodies, the chemicals, pesticides, all that, whatever's in our food and our water. And an emotional detox is similar, but instead of detoxing the chemicals, we are detoxing reactivity. So in the emotional detox mindset, so it's more, well, a couple of things. One is emotional detox is sort of the foundation, what I talk about in the book. It's a completely new way to view our emotions. And the mindset includes that our emotions are not the problem, it's how we react to them. And since writing the book, and now I've written Emotional Detox for Anxiety, which is out there, I really believe there isn't a bad emotion. And because we spent so much time labeling, this is good, this is bad, this is better, this is worse, we really taught ourselves to be consumed with reactivity. And it's like we had to spin ourselves in a circle and a cycle over and over again. And the bottom line is emotions are not meant to be labeled, they're meant to be experienced. They're meant to be felt. But the challenge is we've learned how to label them. We've learned how to talk about them. But we haven't really learned how to feel them. And people are afraid to feel them. And they do a lot of things to avoid feeling them. And it really can create a lot of habits and behaviors that are unfavorable and that can get in the way. And so emotional detox, it's a mindset, but it's also a process. And I lay it out in 7 steps called CLEANSE. It's an acronym. Each letter stands for a step. They all go together. It's one, they support each other. And I teach people how to feel their feelings. And once they feel them, I mean, literally, and just one experience changes their view about their emotions.
That's really, really good. So let me ask you, I feel like I'm fairly self-aware, but this idea of emotional detox is new to me, and I'm sure for a lot of other people. For someone who just heard this, what is the starting point for them to start this process? If I've never heard of it before, and today's the first day I hear it through this podcast, what can I do today to start in that direction?
Well, I think today is really about, the number one thing is about being aware. And I'm well aware that this is new information for a lot of people, and I take full responsibility for that. And I feel that is my job, to go out and teach people about what exactly is this. And some awareness, what they can do today is, I call these the pre-cleanse questions. And so the 3 pre-cleanse questions that I'll give you today is, number 1 is to ask yourself, how is my breathing? But the key is, with the emotional detox mindset, we don't actually answer the questions. So what I've learned is, a lot of reactivity with people happens in their head, right?
Mm-hmm.
People can be in complete state of reactivity and you don't even know it. They can act cool, they can act calm, they can act like they're fine, and yet they're in their head, they're not. They're running a lot of stories and narratives. So we ask ourselves, how's my breathing? If you're not breathing, which means it's got to be an inhale and it's got to be an exhale. If there's no inhale and exhale happening, then we are already in reactivity. And I believe most people are functioning in low levels of reactivity. And you can function there. You can. People do even fairly well in low states of reactivity. But what I'm saying is, once you learn how to feel your feelings, you're going to realize that you don't have to work so hard. And it doesn't have to put a strain on you. It doesn't have to strain your body. And that really, it's going into that space of learning how to be in that non-effort and really learning to trust. Your emotions are a big part of building trust within yourself, trust for others, trusting your path, trusting your experiences. So that's the main thing. You have to ask yourself, how's my breathing? And the key is, don't answer it. Don't answer it. Because if you answer it, you're going to already be in the loop of reactivity. All I have to do is notice and be interested. And so I think of the breath as like a little kid, that just wants some attention. And we're just like, yeah, I'll get to you later, Yeah, I know you need something, but, give me a sec. I got to do this and I got to do that. And I got to, And so once you really stop and you honor the breath and you say, okay, wow, I'm like not breathing. I'm living on very little oxygen. I'm expelling very little carbon dioxide. If you're not breathing, and I'm not talking yoga breaths, because I'm also a yoga teacher, and the yoga people look at me cross-eyed because they're like, you realize you're ruining my training. And I'm like, I don't teach the breath the way I was taught to breathe. But that's the first question. The second question is, you got to ask yourself, how distracted am I? And again, you don't answer it. I don't want you to think, okay, well, oh yeah, I've been thinking about this and I'm focusing on this. Just ask yourself the question and notice. And automatically, I do it so often that my body automatically shifts back into the moment for me. I don't have to say, pay attention, focus on your breath. You know, I don't have to coach myself. Coaching myself is like work, right? I have to give myself a pep talk. Like that's, if you've ever had to give someone a pep talk to get them to do something, you know, after a while it gets old. You're like, really? Like I've told you this a million times, right? The third question is the quality of thoughts. So what are the quality of thoughts? Are they fearful? Are they negative? Are they preoccupied, or are they joyful, you know, happy, whatever? And I'm going to encourage people to just go right somewhere in the middle, because I think we're become this, we have to be careful about this positive Pollyanna kind of culture where, you know, everybody just says, well, don't be negative, you know, and I feel like that's a state of reactivity, right? Someone can't even handle that someone has a negative view. You know, that's a reaction. I can't handle that someone is being a little dismal right now. Really? I have to try to tell them to be different? That's my stuff. So those three questions are about building awareness for the cleanse.
You know, it's really funny. So our audience knows this, but I'll share this with you, and they might be tired of hearing some of this. One of my major life lessons that I'm learning right now, it's because I injured my knee a few months ago, dislocated my kneecap and tore the ligament that holds my kneecap to my femur.
Oh.
And, you know, 5 weeks of that injury, then I was finally able to get surgery, and I'm about a month post-surgery, and I'm doing a lot better. There's a lot of lessons in there, so it tends to resurface because that's what I'm going through right now. But I remember waking up from anesthesia, and as they were wheeling me out, like out of the hospital after I'm up, the nurse, she was young, looked at me square in the eyes, and she goes, "You're going to want to meditate." And I'm like, okay. Like, I mean, I was still coming down from the drugs, and I said a lot of funny things. I'm not kidding. Like, I don't want to over exaggerate this, but I felt like meditating the next 3 days, 2.5 days, saved my life. And here's why I say that. Because it had to do with breathing. I was taking opioids. I was taking oxycodone for the painkiller. And I was taking the subscription, you know, two per every 8 hours or whatever it was. But what ended up happening was it made my heart race. Like, it negatively affected my body. You know, to the point where like 2 days after surgery, I said, I can't take this medicine anymore. Like, I'd rather deal with the pain than deal with the medicine. And my heart would be racing so much that and anxiety would come in, and I thought I would be dying of a heart attack pretty quick. So I did everything I could. I'm getting anxious just talking about it. I did everything I could to get my heart rate lower. So ironically, I did a lot of deep breathing and listening to meditation music. And I'm not an individual that is familiar with meditating, you know, but I felt like it helped me get rid of the anxiousness and helped me calm my heart and get into a place where I could be okay until I took my next dose, apparently.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm glad you said that, because I'm like, okay, this makes sense to me. So
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, it just reminds me of, I'm going to be honest with you. I commend you for meditating, and I'm a pretty type A personality. I have 3 kids, and, you know, I work multiple jobs, and meditating was never a thing for me. Yeah, and I teach yoga, and I can meditate. I can go there. I just go there in a different way now. I don't have to isolate myself, but it's the same thing that you were doing, right? And that's what, and so if people are scared of that word meditation, because not everybody can do that. And some people, honestly, I may commend you, because when they go into stillness, it's too hard for them. It's agonizing, because when you go into those states, you're not just using it as a quote unquote painkiller, but you're also allowing your body to bring up whatever needs to heal. And for whatever reason, for you, it just is through the experience of having this injury, this trauma to the body. And so I always say, in the emotional detox mindset, we really have two choices. And that is, we can either re-traumatize ourselves in those moments, which you clearly did not. And we would do that by going into a cycle of reactivity, right? And being, having all sorts of thoughts and feelings. And people could, some people could go into a depression after something like that, what you went through. It's not uncommon for someone's anxiety to get worse. Like, you started to go down that road maybe, but then you pulled yourself out of it. And so in the emotional detox mindset, it's you have two choices. This situation could be coming up in my life, not necessarily because I have bad luck or my body's, not good, but because it's an opportunity for me to feel something that I haven't allowed myself to feel. And for whatever reason, lying in bed and not able to do anything else could have been a real breakthrough moment for you.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. It's been the strangest journey, because there's a lot of things I've been learning through the process of stillness, and not being active, not being able to help my wife, not like literally she has had to serve me, and I've had to accept it, knowing that I can't do anything for her right now to help her do anything. And that was frustrating, but I had to learn how to receive in those moments as well. And I think that has really, really helped. And speaking of my wife, it also reminds me that in marriage, there's this thing that I've learned about called the crazy cycle. And it's by Dr. Emerson Egg Riches, where he or she does not respect him, he does not act in love towards her, or he does not act in love towards her, and she does not respect him. And it creates this crazy circle of a fight when it breaks out. And oftentimes, each spouse is reacting to one another. And so even outside of just a meditation moment or stillness, that I like what you said earlier, I don't have to react to what someone else says or does. I can emotionally be present and detox at the same time. And I know there's individuals in my life that I'm going to definitely apply that wisdom to, because as I'm sitting here, I was like, holy cow, there's one person in my life that I can literally apply that to. It's not my wife by any means. So I just want to say that for the audience. But it's very hard to be around a person because they're extremely critical almost every time I'm around them. And then I'm like, hey, don't treat me this way. Don't do that. Don't do this. And I'm standing up for myself. And I just, no, why do I have to react to that? So thank you for that challenge.
Yeah, well, that, again, in the mindset, emotional detox, we have two choices in every single situation in our lives that takes our breath away on any level, such as the one you're talking about, the individual. They, for a moment, take your breath away, right?
Right.
And so what that tells me in that moment is that there's an opportunity. This person's bringing up something in you that is looking to come to the surface now to be so process. So I talk about emotions go through a process. And when we react, we interrupt the process of transformation. So they have their own process. It's like a book, there's a beginning and there's a middle and the end. And the emotions have that cycle. It's like with nature, any cycle of life, it has birth, it has growth, it has maturity, and then it has death. It's the same thing, but then something new comes in. So when we react, we're actually stuffing those emotions back down. So we hurt ourselves more than anybody else. And they're just there to show us that, maybe there's an emotion in us that, we call them we have all sorts of names for them. Unworthiness, not good enough. We have all sorts of ways that we dialogue about this. And the process of learning how to feel your feelings lets people feel them. And then really what's happening is there's qualities in you that are looking to develop. And they're already there. They're just looking to become stronger and vibrate higher. So in the end, that person actually becomes someone that we can be grateful for. And if it's not that person, it will be something else until we see it.
So that person becomes a tuning fork for our life.
They do. And what the beautiful part of the emotional detox is, when you feel your feelings, not only do you no longer have that, not only does the emotion transform into something new, so we can take an emotion of fear or it's, whatever it is, and irritability, whatever, and we can transform it into, one of love and peace, whatever, but you get a healing from that and the other person gets a healing.
Wow. If this was Sunday and you were in the pulpit, I would say preach it.
Now we're getting high. This is emotions. They literally make you high. When you start feeling them, and you can start feeling them, well, you're so intuitive, you're already picking up on it. And you literally get high as a kite, but yeah, they get the healing too. And so you can see why it's my mission.
Right. Like, I'm not kidding. As you were talking about this, I took a deep breath unknowingly, and there was just such a release. Like, okay, now I recognize moving forward what I need to do, which is not to react, because, I tell some of my mentors, like, I don't really pick fights. I mean, maybe occasionally, but I am more of a reactor. And as you're sitting here, I'm just like, okay. And then go ahead.
Yeah, well, what I really want you to notice right now, what I really don't want you to focus on is what you're going to do next time. Is what I want you to focus on right now as observing yourself when you put your awareness on this person. And observe what happens to your body now.
I feel like we're having a coaching moment. So let's do that. Okay. Give me some sort of instruction and I will practice it out right now.
Well, no, I just did. I just want to observe and what happened. Okay. And again, I'm taking where I'm not guiding you. I'm going to be honest with you. You're guiding me. And so I'm just going because you went there. Right?
Right.
I'm meeting you where you already went. And otherwise, if I pull you back and I stay back, then you're already walked, 20 feet ahead of me. So I just caught up with you. That's all.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. And so I don't want you to pull yourself back and say, oh, okay, now we got to do coaching.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
You see how that's a reaction?
Yep. It is.
That was a reaction on your part. You wanted to go back and start from square one, but you actually you were already ahead of the game. And when I said, and see, that's the thing about reactivity. It's very brain heavy. We want to understand it and figure it out, and you will. But when you're in your emotions, it's very different. So again, now that you have this new awareness, and so what I'm going to have you do is, and everybody can do this on the call, and it's just everybody take their right ear to the right shoulder for a sec. So we're going to let Evan be sort of the reflection right now, and then bring your head back to center, and then the left ear to the left shoulder. And then bring your head back to center. And everybody observe, and tell me what's going on with your breathing now. Just that simple move. So are you inhaling and exhaling?
Yes.
Okay, I'm pulling, because you got a little anxiety for a moment. Did you feel that anxiety come in?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, you got a little anxiety, and that's okay. I think you get a little scared, because you can accelerate very quickly. Do you find that with yourself?
Very.
I mean, I don't know how many people can go have surgery and then say, oh, I meditated 3 days and it changed my life. I mean, that is accelerated stuff.
Right. Well, and it wasn't just like 5 or 10 minutes. I'm not kidding. I would spend 5 to 8 hours meditating. Like, I'm not kidding. I literally sat down, turned music on, and sat there.
Exactly. So that's monumental kind of stuff. Okay. And so we don't want to undermine that. And you have that ability, and even our abilities scare us, right? Not just the inability, but when we start to discover how powerful we are, sometimes we get a little scared. It's like being scared of our own shadow, and we revert, and that anxiety is a little bit of so that's just something for you. It would be just feeling those feelings of whatever, is coming up for you, in that acceleration process.
That was so, like, for those that are listening, when you asked me, did I feel that anxiety? And I responded, yes. It would be very easy for someone to say, oh, well, I'm just agreeing. But I literally, like, as I'm moving my head back and forth, I felt my breathing shift and anxiety creep in. So for the fact that you recognized that, I'm really dumbfounded. It must have been a parent or something, and I don't know why it crept in.
So it came up because there's emotions that are coming up to be digested now, right? So when we don't fully process them, it's just, think of it like food hanging out in the body. They don't really go through that process of transformation. I'm very intuitive. I actually can, when people breathe, I can hear and see things. So just so you know, I don't advertise myself that way, but I do think that what I'm hearing as far as the emotion that needs to be digested here for you, I'm going to be honest with you. Is this okay? I'm saying this?
I'm going to turn off my office lights because I feel like this is a very somber.
Well, I'm just hearing it's the emotion of overwhelm. Okay, you got it? Did it nail it? Yeah.
Yeah.
honey, I know. So
Wow,
that
I'm choking up. Yeah, I know that.
I know, hon. I'm just letting you know that that is what is coming up to be digested now, and that it's an emotion that's been buried.
Well, I'm glad
Good.
I turned the lights off now. You can't see me crying.
Yeah, good.
Ah,
Yeah, just
was not expecting this, but I'm loving it.
and it is making you feel it. I'm feeling a lot of toxicity from that emotion. It's really clogging up the system. And I'm feeling like it's clogging up the stomach meridians, the stomach pathways. And that's a lot of anxiety stuff, that lives in the stomach.
Which is ironic because you didn't know this. For the last 3 days, I've been having stomach pains.
That's what I was just going to ask you. Have you been having stomach stuff? Because I'm feeling it right now in my stomach. So, yeah. So go ahead and just do those right ear to right shoulder again. This time I want you to just press the tongue on the roof of the mouth. All right, so everybody head to center if you're listening. Left ear to left shoulder, and then press the tongue on the roof of the mouth for a second. Just hold it right there. Bring it back to center. Good. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to leap so far ahead. I want to make sure I honor the process here. But that is just kind of bringing you, yeah, you're really jammed up. That's okay. All right. So just repeat after me for a second, feeling, and when I feel jammed up, say that.
When I feel jammed up,
It makes me feel.
it makes me feel.
Take a breath. And when I feel stuffed,
And when I feel stuffed,
it makes me feel.
it makes me feel.
Inhale. Exhale. Having this stuck inside me now makes me feel.
Having this stuff stuck inside me makes me feel.
Inhale. And exhale. Yeah. All right. So just take another breath here. Yeah. So, I'm just getting a lot of reactivity. Some of the reactivity that I'm hearing that's showing up for you is just that idea of wanting to fix it, wanting to, and I don't know if you have a history of fixing, being the fixer, wanting to, make it better. And just this idea of do you over focus on damage? Do you worry a lot about things like a,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's over focusing on damage for you. You're putting way too much attention on damage. That's your reactivity. Yeah. Yeah, and you can feel the sadness that's really behind all that. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful emotion. I love it. And yeah, so thank you for being an example today. Yeah. All right, you ready? Yeah, you got it. And you have my permission to do whatever you want with this recording. You can you can tuck it away You can share it. I mean, this is about, no matter what happens, it's all going to be okay. So just know
Well,
I have no attachment to outcome right now. Okay.
well, I was not expecting any of this.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
Yeah. I
let's
give you permission to do what feels,
continue.
I give you permission to do what feels right for you and to honor. Okay.
Okay.
So you never want to force anyone who's listening, you never want to force someone to do something a certain way and impose your own agendas on their healing, because that is it's dishonorable. So if this happens in your life, if you're listening and somebody's having a healing moment and you find it changes your direction, you have to accept that.
You know, that sadness that you were talking about, that damage control.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I've lost a lot of close people in my life. Over a period of years now, since like 2008, I've lost at least 13 plus close people in my life, and it's, close about one a year. Lost a child. So there's been a constant state of loss and grief.
Yeah.
And so there's that. And then there's also the feelings of, not feeling worthiness, not overwhelming, is when you feel like you're coming up on the short end of the stick consistently. And, I have big dreams, big desires, big aspirations, and no clue how to step in towards those directions. Simultaneously, you hit the nail on the head when you said, I like to fix things. I took a personality test, and one of my key traits that came out was this word called restorative, or restore. I like to fix broken things. Which I think goes into, a part of who I'm called to be, because I really want to help heal, or be used by God to heal people back to life. And I thought, honestly, that I was healed, or I should say healed, but just in a spot where I was okay with all that stuff. And apparently I'm not.
Well, apparently you are, because, I always say you're not drawn to this work unless you're ready. We're not drawn to the emotional detox. Yeah, it's a book. But there's a vibration behind it. So it will draw who it needs to draw, and there's a reason you were drawn to it. And so obviously your soul knew exactly what.
Man, I'm over here with snot rockets and everything.
Yeah. But I feel a shift. I feel a huge, a lot of weight lifted off you. We actually didn't even go through the whole process. So I took you to step 2 of the process, and already the weight is lifted off you. So, yeah. Beautiful. I mean, it's nice and quiet, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the quiet. I mean, you notice how there's just absolutely no noise in the mind. Like there's nothing for you to fix right now. And you know what? You've become accessible. By holding on to that and not feeling and charging on, I'm going to be honest with you. You weren't as accessible as you are now in this moment. I feel your accessibility.
What does that mean? I'm
Meaning,
not charging on and being more accessible.
meaning there was some, when we have that heaviness around us, or when we hold back our emotions, we put up walls. Maybe you don't feel like you put up a wall, but energetically there's going to be a layers. And what I'm feeling energetically is you're just more accessible. You're more attainable. So you're not going to have to work as hard now.
That resonates.
Yeah, there's an accessibility around you. And that's really nice feeling.
Well, I know what practice I'm going to be doing every time before I make phone calls for real estate.
For what?
I said, now I know what I'm going to be doing every time before I make cold calls for real estate.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for whatever reason, accessibility, I'm not sure. I'm a little wanting to explore that a little bit.
Let's do it. I'm in.
So let's everybody just take a deep breath. Yeah, I mean, accessibility is really just about being available, being obtainable, being approachable. And I know you're an easygoing kind of guy. Did you ever feel like, let's just take a breath. I don't want to go there yet. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just chant the mantra, which is a mantra. It's the HUM mantra, the hum mantra. Okay. You ready? So we're going to do it together. We're going to inhale and we'll just do a nice exhale, and it's sounds like this, and it's hum. Okay. All right. Ready? Everybody?
All right.
Just take a breath. Okay, now I got it. Now it came. So the accessibility is really just the fact that you have all these beautiful ideas, but they weren't fully downloading. So that's what it means by you're more accessible now. They've downloaded. So it's the download. See, you were blocking yourself from the downloads, the spiritual downloads, by not feeling your feelings. You get that now?
This is all kind of new to me, so I'm not sure I 100% understand, to be honest.
I'm still getting information. What I'm saying now is it's not about being accessible people-wise, because obviously you are accessible. You're doing a public podcast, right? You're making yourself accessible in public. What I'm saying is now that you have you're feeling this, you're allowing accessible downloads from spirit, meaning you're allowing the energy from spirit, that the support that is available for you now, right? Whether it's through guides or through your higher self, through God, right? You said, I want to serve God. You are more accessible now to receive a download. You were not accessible before because you were jammed up Now you can be a channel. You get it now?
Yeah.
It wasn't about see how you've been working on being accessible through podcasts. Do you see how you were already in the physical form looking to develop an aspect of yourself, of accessibility?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like very often on the other side of our emotions. That's why we got to stop focusing on labeling and talking, because we're missing the point. We're distracting, and the purpose is getting lost. Now you are accessible to receive downloads and be the channel. So it's going to go through you because there's support for you there. And the fact that you've had 13 people die and are on the other side, you got a pretty big darn support team. So for you not to be accessible would dishonor that in some ways. Not dishonor, but minimize.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So now the fact that you have a child on the other side. Now you're accessible. And that's going to be your mantra. I am accessible. I'm accessible, and I allow myself to be fully accessible, not just through the airwaves. I think we did it. I think you got it. I think that this is going to be a big shift for you.
Couple things as we're talking.
Yeah.
As soon as you start talking about like the specific term, the channel, and um, you know, as personally as a Christian, like this is kind of new to me, but I know that God did create energy. I don't believe God himself is energy. But as a Christian, one of the things I felt like God tell me a long time ago is that there's seasons of drought and pain. And what happens, imagine you're in a trench or a ravine that dried up and you're desperate for water. So what you're doing is you're digging deeper and you're digging it wider to try to get the water to come up. And then eventually, when the water comes, the trench is deeper, the trench is bigger, and more things can flow through you.
Beautiful.
And so as you're saying that, I really see in areas that I'm not sure I quite fully understand what I'm trying to say yet, but I feel like the unattainable aspect, I've made, I don't want to say unattainable goals or expectations, but I know they gave me anxiety and a feeling of unworthiness or unattainable, that I can't attain them. Or it's not happening as fast as I want to see. And that goes into the feeling of overwhelming. And so everything goes along with what you're saying. And so one of the things that I felt like God was talking to me last week about is that essentially I've been trying to really do this apart from him. And that the work that I want to do, the calling that he has for me, is not separate from who he is. And the greatness that I expect on the inside of me isn't my own greatness, but the greatness of Jesus Christ in me. and walking in that and connecting with that to let that through.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
And so everything that you're saying is pretty much right on. And I'm just, again, maybe I'm going back to the Mr. Fix-It side. I'm like, okay, so now what do I do?
Yeah. You accept. You accept. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a vibration. I mean, you can feel it, and it's palpable. I can't say that word.
Palpable.
I can't say that word. Yeah. So it's, we didn't even go through the whole process, but you can see the shift already. And, I think the prayer part and your devotion, your devotion to God and to Jesus is something that's, you might want to, I don't know if you would ever consider putting any prayer into your program, but have you ever considered that?
Explain what you mean. I'm not 100% sure I understand.
I mean, I'm admiring your devotion, and even just ending your program with a prayer, or beginning with a prayer, or
Gotcha. You're talking about the podcast.
yeah.
Okay, I thought you talked about my mental programming.
No. I'm just throwing that out there because I love your dedication.
I do have a personal mission statement that I felt like God gave me. I don't know if it would be that for the podcast or something else, because you know how sometimes you get things that are just for you and no one else. I feel like I asked God a long time ago, what is it that you've called me to do? Like, I want a vocation because I wanted to be a pastor.
I see. That's why I said, why isn't there prayer? Yeah, I can feel it. Yeah.
And
yeah.
I want to be an author. I want to do this. And I had so many things that I wanted to do. And I just tell me that one thing that you want me to do, and I'll just go do that.
Yeah.
And I felt like him say it's going to look different at different times in my life.
Yeah.
But the consistent theme is the call on my life is to live out the heart of God by loving others back to life.
Yeah.
And that is essentially what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's why I'm hearing prayer, integrating some prayer.
I will definitely do that. I will definitely do that.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah. 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 Woo.
So our audience got the upfront, close, and personal of what it means to emotionally detox.
Yeah, they got a good chunk of it, that's for sure. And I thank you for being an illustration and being willing to. You were just like an open, like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, I did not anticipate any of this.
Yeah,
I'm so glad it happened.
Yeah, me too. It feels good. It feels complete, and I think people got a feel for it because it really is. It's hard to explain sometimes in words what an emotional detox is, but it really, that's why I say and just feeling your feelings can change everything in just one round. Changes your whole perspective. It's possibly going to change your whole podcast. Not the whole thing, but I just feel like prayer needs to be in there.
Well, I'll share more with you after we record. Um, you know, and please correct me if I'm wrong
Yeah.
with what I'm about to say. But as we were going through, like every time right before you said you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling this, you're feeling like those exact words were what were in my mind. Like, I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how to explain that to the audience because, you know, because I've listened to podcasts like this and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of hocus pocus. I got to experience it.
Yeah.
Because I guess two things. Okay. One, if you do this exercise and you get those thoughts, pay attention to them
Yeah.
in the context that, okay, they're there probably for a reason.
Yeah.
So like you said, don't try to change anything, but give it some sort of attention. Why is it there? And
Yeah.
then let me ask you this, because having gone through this, I'm trying to phrase this because I'm not sure how to phrase it. As a Christian, this
Yes.
would seem very weird, especially where I'm in the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
It could be looked at as evil or spiritual witchcraft. I don't personally think it is.
Yeah.
I believe that the spiritual realm
Yeah.
exists, and there are people with giftings that have access to that realm, whether they believe in Jesus Christ or not. And I believe the gifts of God are without repentance, meaning that God gives us gifts and he doesn't take them away. It's like, why one person can sing really profane, terrible things that you wouldn't want anyone to ever really hear, but they still have that gift.
Yes. Yeah. I
Help
would agree with you.
help me as a Christian understand
Yeah.
the spiritual aspect of this, because experiencing this, I'm like, okay, there's validity here.
Yeah. Are you talking about the hum? When I hum, is that the part that got a little woo woo for you?
I mean, yeah, but that wasn't concerning. I felt like that helps focus. But the overall process, if you could.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like my gift from God and my how I'm serving God is to teach people how to feel their feelings, and I
Right.
believe that is what God has given me the privilege. I don't feel so it when you were when I felt your emotions, I see an image in my mind. What I saw was, and it just pops up. I don't sit there and ask for it. I'm not calling, spirit guides, please
Right.
help me predict a psychic. I don't do any of that. I don't even tell people I'm intuitive. Like, people will say in a session, are you a psychic? And I say, well, I don't really talk about it. I don't talk about it in my book, but I did see an image of a stuffed drawer. Do you remember when I said to you, feeling
Right.
stuffed, right? Feeling, I saw a stuffed drawer, and I know that image came from God. God told me, okay, there's something going on here, and I just listen. And I do believe that, there's a listening aspect. I just listen to the emotions. I treat them like they're alive, living, their connection, like the Holy Spirit. I mean, that's the best way that I can connect it, is
Right.
it's like channeling the Holy Spirit, and I just listen, and then I support, but I don't put words in your mouth unless I'm absolutely I hear it. I heard overwhelmed. I saw the drawer, and it happens to be my gift. I I didn't get gifted with athletic ability. I was never like a stellar student, but I did get the gift of feeling, and so I'm just, that's the only way I can explain it is,
Yeah.
you know,
Because all this, I don't want to say it's new to me.
yeah,
Because I also get images and like when I'm talking to people,
I'm sure you do.
words or things or
Yeah.
ideas. And I tend to call it discernment / prophecy.
Oh, I like that.
Because I don't feel like I conjured it up, that I channeled it. I felt like those were
Yeah,
things that God put in my mind to
exactly.
give to that person to say,
Yes.
hey, there's no way I could know this. And I feel like God's telling me this about you.
Yes.
And then that puts them back to
Exactly. See,
God.
you had the answers all along. That's exactly it.
I just had to work them out, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, that's exactly the way I feel as well. And yeah,
Man.
yeah. But this
Well,
was great.
this was such an awesome episode. I never anticipated how this one was going to turn out this way, but for our audience, I want to be respectful of your time. Thank you so much for coming on, Sherianna, and blessing me and our listeners with the gift that God has placed in your life to help heal people and help them recognize their emotions. And man, we might have to do a second one because I still have like 4 questions on here that we never got to.
That would be great. And I look forward to hearing your prayers.
Absolutely. So I'll share that with you after we end recording. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.